The NBA announced the 2023 NBA All-Star reserves, and I have to admit, I'm a little shocked, just a little bit floored. Did the coaches and the media get this right?
Yes and no. And let me tell you right now, I say yes because for me, all is well. Because Jaylen Brown, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Halliburton, Lori Marketing, and DeMontis Sabonis showed up. For me, those are those names, and I got another one I was looking for. So yeah, no, all is well. Yes, they got it right in that regard. However, can I just ask a question? These are just questions that I'm asking. Now, maybe you can help gain clarity for me. Drew Holiday,
you know, I had a
Drew
question
Holiday. And I'm
about
sorry
him
because
too.
not one fan put him on any of the lists. So what did the media and the coaches see, which garnered Drew Holiday an All Star nod and not somebody else that I'll mention later? But Drew Holiday, can you help me understand that one?
Only thing I can think of is the Bucks have been surging without Chris Middleton. And who else has been helping Giannis to this extent where the Bucks are flirting at the number one seed in the Eastern Conference right now. So I'm thinking that's what the coaches and the media were thinking.
And then
I
I'm
mean,
gonna need
I
the
don't know.
coaches and the media to help me understand: is this an individual award or is this a team award? Look, let's just be honest. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the Milwaukee Bucks. Anytime he can put up 54 points and literally dismantle a team, literally dismantle a team with Drew Holiday on the floor. What? Okay. So anyway, I don't understand Drew Holiday on this list. That was one question I have. And no disrespect to the Memphis Grizzlies and their fans, I need to understand Jaren Jackson Jr.
What?
I may be missing it. No, this is a fair, I'm just asking a question. I'm not even trying to be funny. This is just because I asked a question don't mean I disagree. I need clarity on why he's on the list.
Oh, he's a defensive juggernaut. What he
Mhm.
without him in the middle, not sure the Grizzlies would be where they are right now. I'm okay with Jaren
Mhm.
Jackson Jr.
Okay.
In fact, I am thrilled to see him on the list. But I tell you what,
Mhm.
I'm not happy to see Paul George, who has only played about 39 games this season. That is just not even fair. Other people out there busting their chops, to have a good season, to be available, to be professional and healthy. And you got players just barely playing half of the season, 2/3 of the season showing up on this list. I have a problem with that.
Yeah. I have a problem with Paul George being on the list too, because he's actually taking up a spot for someone else, right? So now had he had this other person I would want to see on the list was on the list and Paul George was on the list, I would have been okay with it, right? But you sitting in a spot that clearly someone else should be holding. And I just, yeah, Paul George is another questionable one for me. And if I'm going to talk about questionable reserves, tell me a little bit about Julius Randle.
Julius Randle, well, this season, I mean, he's just a bully on the block.
Mhm.
I honestly, I'd rather see Jalen Brunson because the way he's been carrying the New York
Just
Knicks on
trying to
his back
tell you.
and the addition of him to the Knicks, oh my goodness.
So is it because front court, back court, maybe that's where, the struggle is in
Hmm.
trying to identify reserves? I think that's one of the things that the media and probably the coaches have an issue with is, we only have a limited number of front court, a limited number of back court that we need to add to this reserves list. Because I agree with you. For me, if anybody should have been on the list from the Knicks, it should have been Jalen Brunson. If anybody should have been on the list. But they hold two different positions. So I wonder, I question that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and
But
lastly,
uh-huh.
oh, you got someone lastly.
Yeah, Damian Lillard, same boat as Paul George. 38, 39 games all season. He's taking a spot from De'Aaron Fox as far as I'm concerned.
Boom, boom, video over.
Yeah.
Why isn't De'Aaron Fox on this list? When we're talking about people holding up spots, now maybe it's for nostalgia's sake. And yes, Damian Lillard, now that he is back, keywords, the Trailblazers, Damian Lillard looks really nice on the court. He looks really, really good, but not enough to be an all-star for this season when you have De'Aaron Fox on the outside looking in. De'Aaron
Mhm.
Fox, I'm sorry, we're talking about a record of teams who thought that the Kings would be top 6 in the Western Conference this season. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis has made it possible. You mean to tell me nobody thought to see that he should be on this list? What?
It's
So when we're
unbelievable.
talking about people from the West that need to be removed, especially when we're talking about backcourt, you pick one: Paul George, Damian Lillard. But I can tell you who needs to be on this list. It should be De'Aaron Fox. So I'm really, really not happy that he was snubbed. I'm not happy.
Yeah, let's talk about these snubs though. Now, in order to say a player was snubbed, we got to determine, well, okay, well, who's coming off of the current list? For me, DeMar DeRozan.
Yep.
You know, DeMar, the
Yep.
Chicago Bulls suck right now.
Mhm.
And as much as I would like to see him on this list, probably ruin his streak of making All-Star if he wasn't on this list.
Oh well.
But where is Pascal Siakam?
See, okay, that's the thing. I think Pascal Siakam should be on this list as well. Hence is why I question, should it be Julius Randle when we're talking about front court? Because I would have preferred to see Pascal Siakam. I think he deserves to be on this. Now, I believe I'm going to thank Nick Nurse for him not being on here. Thank you, Nick Nurse, because Pascal Siakam should be on the list. Maybe if the Toronto Raptors were higher in the standings, since sometimes it appears that the team's success may be a determining factor on whether or not someone should be an all-star. But Pascal Siakam, when you're talking about defense, he's defending 1 through 5 like it ain't nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He is the Toronto Raptors, and he is where you need for him to be. So why is he not on this list? Oh, maybe they would have considered him had the Toronto Raptors met the expectations of their fan base and be somewhere in the top 6 where they should be. So yeah, thank you, Nick Nurse. You did this. I'm just playing. I don't know. But I believe Pascal Siakam should be on this list. And when we're talking about removing somebody front court East, it should be Julius Randle for me, just for me. So yeah, no. And then I'm thinking when we're talking about DeMar DeRozan, since they have him listed as a guard, I'm sorry, you in the place of Darius Garland? How you do that?
Yes.
How you gonna sit in the place of Darius Garland? For real? I just
Yeah, or even James Harden. The way the Sixers are playing right now, the way that James is funneling the ball to Joel Embiid, who's having a phenomenal season. I think James Harden got snubbed as well. But who am I willing to take off? Probably Drew Holiday.
That is my point. This is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. You got Drew Holiday, no disrespect to their games. I'm just saying, we're talking about all-star at this point, and somebody that should be on the list and someone that shouldn't be. We're talking about snubs. You can't talk about who you're going to remove. They can't just put everybody on the all-star list, right? So this is a discussion about somebody we believe was snubbed and who we think who should be removed from the list. For me, I'm talking about Drew Holiday. I'm talking about Julius Randle because I believe Pascal Siakam should be in a spot, and I agree with you. I don't agree James Harden, but Darius Garland in my case. And
Yeah.
you James Harden. Again, a guard position that Drew Holiday is sitting in. And we believe somebody else should be there. That's what I'm saying.
Right, right. What's interesting is, we talked about the starters, but I just can't overlook Zion Williamson being a starter when he's only played 29 games this season. Obviously, a very popular player. I mean, the Pels have been on a miraculous losing streak and just broke it recently.
Yeah.
But Zion, 29 games, and I don't even know if he's going to be healthy to play in an All-Star game. I have a problem with that too.
I just think there needs to be a baseline of games played to be considered on the list. I know that injuries happen. I get that. But when you pick and choose who you want to use, the number of games played in your selection, then it's flawed. There has to be a consensus that this is the baseline of number of games to be played. Then we'll look at your stats and how you fare against your counterparts in that same position. Then we'll select who our all-star reserves are. Fan voting, I get it. It's popularity all day. When we're talking about these reserves and we leave it up to the coaches who know, right? And the media heads who talk about it all the time, there has to be some type of boundary baseline criteria in place where you can't have where you can't have reserves that's played limited games and you have other players that's almost played all the games and they can't even get a nod and their numbers are either comparable or better.
Exactly. Yeah.
And their teams are performing top tier in the season. What? And they're not even on the list?
Yeah, that is puzzling to me. Now, Anthony Edwards is also playing pretty well this season for the Timberwolves, but I think he got snubbed, but I can't righteously sit here and say I would take Ja Morant or Shai Gilgeous off this list.
Not gonna happen. You know what? Someone else that they mentioned that was snubbed, Jimmy Butler. I read an article where they listed Jimmy Butler as being snubbed. Who are you gonna remove to add Jimmy Butler?
I don't want to add Jimmy Butler.
Me either. Okay, so but I'm saying there's a list talked about being snubbed, but who you gonna take off, right? And then Trae Young was on all of the first fans returns. He's not on my list, but do you think Trae Young was snubbed?
No, not with the season he's having and the Hawks as a whole. No.
Yeah. And I also read in one of the articles that I read about players that were snubbed for the All-Star for this season. Somebody mentioned that the coaches know too, and the coaches, they stick together. You just can't be up here acting. I'm paraphrasing, but you just can't be up here acting up with your coach thinking we're gonna vote you in.
That's right. That's
that's what the person said. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what the writer was saying in this article that I read. And I was like, exactly.
Yeah. Now Devin Booker is known to be an all-star. He's not on the list only because of injuries. The same with AD, because I'm telling you, before he got injured, he was a shoe-in, probably as a starter, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and I don't want to see another list with Kawhi Leonard on it. Stop. He wasn't snubbed, y'all. He wasn't. Kawhi Leonard wasn't snubbed this season. He shouldn't even be talked about right now.
Oh, please.
We're talking about all-stars. No, not this season, y'all. Stop it. No, not this season. Let's see what he does for next season, and then we'll talk about maybe if he doesn't get it, then maybe it's a snub, but not now. Y'all stop doing that.